Thursday Night Football has some major implications for the Rams. Seattle Seahawks versus Chicago Bears. We're going to talk about why Rams fans should be Bears fans tonight on Thursday Night Football. We're also going to discuss a very complicated path where maybe the Bears don't take care of business and how complicated this road for the NFC West Championship could be for the Rams. We're also going to discuss the future of the Rams 2025 receiver room. We're going to go into detail about all that on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Josh Giron. If you guys are not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor and press that subscribe button right now, as 89.3% of you guys still are not subscribed. We appreciate the ones who are. We appreciate you guys coming back and watching the videos. But do us a favor, hit the subscribe button, as it doesn't cost you a thing, but also it shows us that you want more daily Rams videos here at the Rams Digest. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button if you have not done so already. Let's get into this. The Bears. Why are Rams fans rooting for the Bears so hard tonight on Thursday Night Football? Pretty obvious, right? Seattle Seahawks are the last team left in the NFC West to really battle and have a chance to compete for that NFC West championship. Of course, we already talked about this, and we'll actually pull up a quote from Sean McVay later in the video to discuss, obviously, Rams take care of business. It is what it is. They take care of business. But if you pull up the story here, we can see Thursday Night Football does have an impact on the Rams playoff picture, and actually a pretty significant one. We have a couple stories back to back to talk about, but the Rams can clinch the NFC West with a Seattle loss on Thursday. We're gonna get into detail about that right now and why we're rooting for the Bears so hard. And look, the Bears are in a situation where maybe they want to lose, right? To be honest, they've been on a pretty big losing streak. They started the season 4-2, if I'm remembering correctly, with their rookie quarterback Kyren Williams, but they've been looking pretty rough after that, right? So they're sitting at, I think, 4-11 right now. So they've lost a lot of games in a row. But could they kind of want to fight a little hard? I don't know. They could also be pushing for that top 10 pick in the draft. I think they're sitting at number 9 right now in the draft. If they win, it would just hurt their draft pick a little bit more. Is that what they're worried about? Is that what they're concerned about? I'm sure the players aren't really. So what is the fight that we're going to see out of Chicago Bears? We'll see. But here is the actual scenario we're talking about here. A Seahawks loss or a tie, by the way, they don't have to just lose. A loss or a tie means the Rams could clinch the NFC West Division with a win over the Cardinals on Saturday night. And this is kind of an important scenario that I want to talk about, because I think it's important for the Rams in general, right? Because, of course, if the Rams just take care of business, they beat Arizona, they beat Seattle, season over, or at least the playoff chase is over, and of course the Rams would solidify their NFC West Division Championship. But the reality is you kind of want to rest your players in Week 18 a little bit. And I think most scenarios it kind of can get complicated, right? Not many people are fans of resting or benching or thinking about rest. But in the Rams-specific situation, I think it's important to talk about, because we've discussed this all season long, or ever since we've made this channel, we've been discussing it. Injuries are key for the Rams. If they can be healthy, no team wants to face them. And I'm not saying a week off automatically means that they would be 100% healthy. I'm not saying that take the whole week off. Even obviously, you want them to be practicing, you want them to be out there and moving and going through the games. But the biggest thing for the Rams, again, is their health. If they are healthy as they are right now, they're a very tough team to beat in the playoffs. And so when you go into Week 18, if you can understand and know ahead of time, okay, Cooper Kupp may not have to play this game, at least maybe not a lot of snaps, or if the game means nothing, maybe even you bench him completely. Maybe you bench Matthew Stafford completely, right? Benching those guys is important. Getting those guys to rest is important. But I think another key that we're not paying attention to is the guys on the bench who may be needed in case of emergency, right? If someone does get hurt, say Jimmy G has to step up, right? Say a receiver has to step up, an offensive lineman has to step up, a defensive back has to step up. If you can get those guys a full game, a division rivalry game versus Seattle Seahawks in a Week 18, that doesn't mean a thing. If you lose, you can get those guys in, get those guys game reps, live game reps. It really means a lot for the Rams in terms of next man up mentality, because yes, it's one thing to have that mentality, but it's another thing to have the experience. If a player can come in already off of a good game or a game understanding, hey, this is where I have to be, this is where I need to understand the game speed of things. Of course, these are NFL players, and most of these guys are ready to step up when needed, but having an extra game to rest players so no one gets hurt, but prepare for injuries in the playoffs, those are two major keys, I think, for the Rams moving forward into the playoffs. So you actually, if Chicago can take care of business tonight and beat the Seattle Seahawks, all of a sudden the Rams can go in, just kind of punch Arizona in the mouth. Again, not an easy team to beat. They still have Kyler Murray and everybody. But if you could punch Arizona in the mouth, knock them out, and just kind of end their season completely, obviously they're already out of the playoffs. But if you could really just take care of business and not have to worry about the Seattle Seahawks in Week 18, you have a really nice path to rest players, to prepare your backups, and all that good stuff. And I'm sure that's what the Rams really, really are hoping for. So tonight, Thursday Night Football, the Bears over the Seattle Seahawks. Let's hope that Kyren Williams and the Bears can snap this losing streak they're on and help the Rams, do the Rams a major favor. Moving on from that, though, right? If that situation doesn't happen, we might have to watch who, what are we talking about, where, how many games are we paying attention to? This can get really complicated really fast. And I think, again, hopeful and most likely this scenario wouldn't happen. But there is a chance that this path can go down for the Rams, and it would get really complicated and kind of muddy the water, I think, in terms of their playoff hopes. Again, we'll pull up a quote from Sean McVay soon, but just take care of business, right? Rams, who cares about all this stuff? But I just think for the fans who want to kind of see the different paths that are actually possible, this is interesting here. So let's pull this story up right here. Again, NFL has one crazy playoff clinching scenario for Week 17, how Bills and Bengals, yes, two AFC teams, could help Rams win NFC West. What are we talking about here? Let's just pull it up while we're still here on this full screen screenshot. So I got screenshots from the story so you guys can read it along with me. But essentially, here's what we're talking about, right? For this crazy scenario to come to play, Seahawks have to beat the Bears on Thursday, so that's tonight. We're still right before the game starts, right? Seahawks beat the Bears, Rams beat the Cardinals. Then this scenario kind of gets into play where we start looking at all these different situations. If both things happen, Rams can still clinch the NFC West, but they'd have to, and that's this weekend, right? This is so the Rams can clinch this weekend. Of course, again, if the Rams beat Seattle next week in Week 18, of course, done deal, it's all over. But for the Rams to come out on Monday morning and be division champs, this is what would have to happen, or Tuesday morning. This is what would have to happen. So let's get into this, and let's pull this next screenshot up here. They would have to root for the Bengals to win versus the Broncos, the Bills to win versus the Jets, the Browns to beat the Dolphins, the Vikings to beat the Packers, and the Commanders to beat the Falcons, Niners to beat the Lions. So if all those things come into play and all those things happen, right, for the Rams, this is where they would clinch Tuesday morning, done deal. Season would be done. You could also rest your players Week 18. They would need every team to have at least 4 wins or 3.5 wins. They would need at least 3 wins and a tie, basically. But, of course, more realistically, you're going to hope for 4 wins. So that's kind of where this crazy scenario happens, where you need all 6 teams to win. And if all those things happen, then the Rams take care of business, and the Rams would go ahead and clinch on Tuesday. So this is a scenario, again, where we're talking about, I'm just hoping for the Rams to be able to rest players on Week 18. Now, will they rest everybody? Who knows? What does Sean McVay want to do? I know he's a very hard-nosed kind of, let's play football, who cares about all the other BS stuff? Let's take care of business ourselves. But I think the Rams are also, coaching staff and front office is also very smart, and they're going to consider everything. And I think if you can rest players Week 18, you can prepare your backups Week 18, it'll really be helpful and beneficial for the Rams going into playoffs to be healthy, to be off a week of rest, to have everybody healthy, ready to go, and your backups ready to go after a live game experience. It's all going to be beneficial. So this is, again, a complicated scenario that we don't have to really spend too much time on. But if Seattle wins tonight, I'll make a video tomorrow breaking down exactly what all this stuff means moving forward in a little bit more detail. But tonight, let's not worry about it too much. Let's just say Bears take care of business versus the Seattle Seahawks. Rams take care of business on Saturday. Let's get this NFC West division wrapped up, and then the Rams can do whatever it is they want. The coach staff can do whatever it is they want. Rest players, not rest players, whatever they prefer in Week 18, and we'll get into that next week on the Rams Digest. Last but not least, 2025 problems. What are we talking about here? Why are we already talking about 2025, Josh? Who knows? I just think we have to start thinking about the future a little bit, right? I think it's an important thing to always kind of stay ahead and think about the future. Rams could be preparing for their overhaul for the wide receiver room in 2025. Now, why are we talking about this, and what does this kind of mean? Essentially, this is what we're looking at, right? The Rams are in a situation where the only receivers under contract are Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Jordan Whittington, and Demarcus Robinson. And Jordan Whittington. DeMarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell, Tyler Johnson, Xavier Smith are all set to be free agents. So it's quite a bit of receivers you're losing, right? Again, DeMarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell, Tyler Johnson, Xavier Smith. All four of those guys are going to be free agents. We're talking about Cooper Kupp, Jordan Whittington, and Puka Nacua being your only three receivers under contract for next year. Of course, you could just draft a receiver, and that's not too big of an issue. But the reality is the Rams are in a situation where they may have to move on from Cooper Kupp, right? How much longer can you sit and pay the guy $25+ million a year when some games he's there, some games he's not? Cooper Kupp has been a fantastic, legendary Rams player. You don't want to just move on from legendary Rams players. Don't get me wrong, Hall of Famer. But at the end of the day, the Rams are in the business of trying to win football games still. Even moving on to next year, right? Sean McVay has shown he can win with whatever, right? So you're still going to be in the business of winning. If you're still going to have Matthew Stafford at quarterback, you're definitely going to be in the business of winning still. So what can you do to keep this team competitive? Do you keep Cooper Kupp under contract for the 2 more years he has left, which is like $26 million per year? Or do you move on? Maybe that's either cutting him, either trading him, whatever kind of works out best in terms of financially for the Rams. And then do you go on and you try to sign a player, right? So when we're talking about signing a player, that's where I pulled up these top 10 players that are free agents next year. We're talking about guys like T. Higgins, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins, Deontay Johnson, Hollywood Brown, Keenan Allen, Elijah Moore, and Mike Williams. Those are just 10 names that I think are important for Rams fans to kind of look at and see and say, who are we interested in? Who can we maybe pull up? Because I think a T. Higgins, right? If you can steal a T. Higgins from the Cincinnati Bengals, you're talking about Puka Nacua, T. Higgins playing alongside each other. That's a pretty good duo. Of course, you say what you want about what's happening in Cincinnati. Of course, I know T. Higgins is loved there, and I think he wants to stay there. I think it'd be a great connection for him to stay with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. But do they want to play two receivers in that way? Are the Rams willing to go out and pay that much money for a guy like T. Higgins? Again, you're going to have to have a big-time investment with him. Then, of course, really soon-to-be big-time investment in Puka Nacua. So, of course, that's something the Rams have to really heavily consider, of course. But then you look at a guy like Amari Cooper, right, who's kind of been really, really quiet since joining the Buffalo Bills. Do you look at that and say, he's been quiet, you pull up his stats, you pull up his numbers, you tell his agent, this is all we can offer, $5, $6, $7 million a year, or $10, $11, $12 million a year, still a lot cheaper than a guy like Cooper Kupp, and you have Amari Cooper playing alongside, again, ending his career, because he is getting a little bit older, Amari Cooper is, but ending his career in Los Angeles, again, alongside, he's just going to have to be a receiver too, alongside Puka Nacua, Chris Godwin coming off of injury, Stephon Diggs coming off of injury, DeAndre Hopkins, aging. Those are all interesting names, to say the least. My top 3, I would say, most interested names, I would say, for the Rams. Really interested in just going all in and saying, let's go ahead and bring T. Higgins in and figure out Puka Nacua later. Maybe when Stafford's contract's up, we can move on from him and we could have pay Puka and T. Higgins and have a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract with 2 great receivers. Or you go the Amari Cooper route again and his career here in Los Angeles, maybe a 2-year $28 million contract, something around that range, to kind of let Amari Cooper finish his career, get toward the end of his career here in Los Angeles, but kind of squeeze the last couple years out. That's kind of, if you're going to keep Matthew Stafford, kind of such a scenario. And then I'm interested in, honestly, a guy more like the third one, Stephon Diggs. I think you can really get him on the cheap. Coming off an ACL injury, again, this is a scenario where you're paying a guy who's going to essentially be like where Cooper Kupp is at in his career. And I think, you can say Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp. I think Cooper Kupp's a little bit in a better position right now. But the contract, right? The money-wise, right? You get a big discount on a guy compared to what Cooper Kupp's getting paid, just so you can kind of continue that competitiveness, give Matthew Stafford as many weapons as possible moving forward. So those are kind of top 3 names I'm interested in. Of course, I'd rather go the younger route, draft a guy. You could find guys in the draft, clearly look at Puka Nacua with the 5th round pick. So that's kind of what I'm interested in. Again, I don't want to get too detailed in the offseason stuff. That's something that we can look at moving forward. But those are some names I'm interested in. You guys let me know if you guys have any names that I'm kind of forgetting that are possible free agents that you think are really interesting for the Rams to possibly go after. Or let me know if you're interested in just focusing on the playoffs and we don't have to talk about future stuff until future stuff is necessary. That's going to do it for me on today's episode of the Rams Digest. Remember, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. That's going to do it for me on today's episode. I am your host, Joshua Giron, and I'm out.